Thanks for watching In Focus here on PHL 17. I'm Jennifer Lewis Hall. Today, a focus on education. An expert shares ways to prepare students for the back-to-school season. And a financial wellness program kicks off on 7 HBCU campuses. We'll tell you where it's happening here in our area. That's today on In Focus. Well, first on today's show, we start with an expert in the area of vaccines and disease prevention and treatment. Dr. David Weiner is director of the Vaccine and Immunotherapy Center at the Wistar Institute. Thanks for joining us once again, Dr. Weiner.
My pleasure, Jennifer.
Well, you have been on with us on In Focus a few times to talk about vaccines and the coronavirus. So much to get to today. There are so many changes and updates to keep up with. First, many people are still talking about news reported earlier this week that the FDA granted that full approval to Pfizer's COVID vaccine. How significant is this news in your view, and how might it mean that more vaccine approvals could be on the way?
Right. I think the full approval is very important, and I think will have a big effect. And I think we're already seeing that just in the short time since full approval came through. So the approval is for individuals 16 and above. It does not cover children below 16. That's still controlled between 12 and 16 under emergency use. But for those above, I think many people, approximately a third is estimated, who are hesitant to get vaccines, were waiting to have this approval come through. And really, it just represents another few months of safety data collected by Pfizer and BioNTech and given to the FDA. And overall, these vaccines are very safe and have been very effective. It does allow for mandates to be put in place by communities, by companies, CVS, for example, by the military, the Pentagon, for example. Disney is considering that. Chevron is considering that for specific workers. And very, very important with us going back to school, it does allow school districts and governments to put in place vaccine mandates for teachers, for example. And that has already been announced by New Jersey and has been voted on by the Philly School Board.
Yes, and in fact, that was going to be certainly the next area to discuss, that school districts, some of them workplaces as well, now requiring or mandating this vaccine. Do you think, though, for those who are hesitant, that this may be the news that they needed to decide to go ahead and move forward and get vaccinated?
That is an important thing. It does appear through different polls that, for example, the Kaiser Foundation, that approximately 1/3 of people who have been hesitant to take the vaccines now might be persuaded based on the polling to now take the vaccines. And that'll be very important for us, because we're somewhere around 50% fully vaccinated of people in the country. And of course, we don't have children vaccinated. And so these additional people getting vaccinated, as we can see the effect of this pandemic is not going away at this point, is really important for us to reestablish control. And so I think that that kind of approval and another very large segment of the population getting vaccinated is only going to be beneficial.
All right, and as kids, as you said, heading back to school as well, college students heading back. Some parents are wondering, for those who cannot get vaccinated, you said that, that's for kids under 12, and under. How might parents wonder, how can we better protect our children as this is happening?
So for schools, for going back to school, I think there are several things that we can take into account. First of all, the number one thing is we need to protect children. The number of children who come down with serious disease is much lower overall than those over 50, for example, or over 65, where most of the serious disease and hospitalization occurs. And children is a much, much lower percentage. So overall, that's a good thing. The other thing is, though, it is really the responsibility of the adults around, I feel, to be getting vaccinated to protect those populations. And so these mandates in schools are going to be very, very important. And the other thing that we can do, of course, is there are risk mitigations, such as ventilation is very important inside classrooms to help de-risk the actual area. And in addition, mask wearing And so I think that's important. I think outside activities for children are much less concerned, but I think indoors with most people vaccinated, especially the teachers and staff, as some districts have said, everyone from the janitors to the faculty will be vaccinated. This is a really important issue to protect our children.
Well, certainly we want to get to the Delta variant and something that I've spoken with you about, the Lambda variant. Not a lot of time here, but this is key. So tell us a little bit about the Delta variant, and now next we're hearing about Lambda.
So the Delta variant appeared a few months ago out of India and really has become the dominant global variant. And there are subvariants of Delta, but those don't seem to be really the story. It's really Delta, Delta, Delta. And Delta is has the property of being able to replicate to higher amounts in the throat and the nose, and that likely helps it spread more easily. In fact, it's been reported that it's one of the more easily spread as well as chickenpox, as infectious. And so that's really the problem. As far as Lambda, the new variant, Lambda really is not, it's a variant of interest, but it's not really a variant of concern yet because most of the cases we're seeing are all Delta. And so that is the one we should be focusing on. And I do want to say, though, the pandemic is very different in two populations, the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated. There's a 29, if you're unvaccinated, and you have a 29 higher fold risk of winding up in the hospital than somebody who's vaccinated. And so while there are some cases in vaccinated people, they're much less serious. And for the most part, it's a completely different story between hospitalization and deaths in those populations. So the vaccines are very effective at doing what they're supposed to do, which is keep us from winding up in the hospital or with more serious consequences.
I want to get this in. I've got about 10 seconds to do so. Booster shots, as that is being talked about, what do people need to know right now, very quickly, if you can?
So immune compromised, which has been announced that booster shots are authorized for immune compromised. And so that is very important. Those people have lower immune systems, and even if they've received 2 shots, they really need another shot. And then as far as whether we're going to get third boosters approved, even though there isn't this breakthrough really at any significant level, likely we're going to be hearing about allowing people over certain ages get boosted in a few weeks, especially starting with the most elderly.
All right, Dr. Wenner, we thank you so much for this information. Glad you could join us once again.
My pleasure, Jennifer. Thank you.
Be well. Thank you so much. Well, coming up on In Focus, heading back to class with a strategy for success. We hear about the 3 R's to help your student transition back to school in a big way. Stay with us. Welcome back to In Focus, everyone. Thanks for joining me. Well, students returned to their classrooms this year after many, of course, were out of school in person last year due to the pandemic. For some of the youngest students, it will be the first time that they are actually attending school in person in their classrooms. So here with us to talk about some strategies to help make this a great school year is John Vaca, who is an associate professor of teacher education at St. Joseph's University. Good to see you, Dr. Vaca.
You too, Jennifer. Thanks for having me.
Well, we certainly wish all the students that are returning to class out there a great year, a lot of excitement. So there's going to be a lot of changes for students, however, this year due to the pandemic. And in so many ways, they will be learning, but learning a bit differently. So some excitement and some parents and students nervous about this transition. How can they better deal with these feelings?
Boy, mixed emotions, right? Excitement and anxiety. I think many are ready. They're ready for that pressure valve to be released and to get back into the normal routine. So I like to think of it as the 3 R's, which are easy to remember. You know, we think of the 3 R's as reading, writing, arithmetic, and I like to think the way to help parents and kids is a different 3 R's, which is to revisit, review, and to revitalize. So with the revisit, it's the school passed. So having parents and their children discuss what was the school routine, how did we handle breakfast and getting on the bus or getting in the car, how did we handle extracurricular activities, what was the routine, what was everybody's roles, responsibilities, and expectations, and what were the roles of social media and cell phone in terms of the hours spent and then the hours spent on homework and when to turn it off. And then to move on to the review.
I was going to say review is next. We're going to pull up a screen of that, Dr. Vaca, and really, I like how you have this laid out. So it's school past, which is revisit some of those former goals. Even
That's
taking
right.
my eye down to the bottom of this as you talk about this, I love this one because this integrates new goals. So this is a review, school present. Please explain.
Correct. So it's, what the sky's the limit in terms of the opportunities that the child and the family want to take advantage of for school, and how that factors in. Maybe there are new goals for this year that were different from last year. Maybe there are goals that are new compared to before the pandemic, 2 years ago. So now's the time for the caregiver, the parent, to sit and have that candid discussion with their child on, what do you want to do this year? How do you see this year working for you? How do you want to reconnect? What are the activities or sports or kids that you want to reconnect with? And to really use that energy and excitement on the here and now.
And let's talk about revitalize, because under this you sort of stacked some really great stuff. It's kind of three components that fall into this framework as well. Explain that to us and why I thought this was especially important.
Revitalize. So kind of the name says it all. A mindset that really that captures excitement, engagement, and empowerment. And I really think that when children are excited, when parents see that their child is excited to go to school, to get back into that routine, they tend to then see a higher level engagement. And when kids are excited and they're engaged and they're passionate about what they're doing, their sense of belonging and their sense of identity and empowerment, a real strong, bold word of empowerment, allows them to really take on roles of their own, take leadership roles of their own, and lessens the sort of the responsibility of the caregiver to tell the child what to do every second, every minute of the day. It really allows that child to be the autonomous thinker that they want to be and that they can be, and it really works with both the school routine and the home routine.
Yeah, and I feel like that really, as you said, gets you energized to start, and the routines begin, I guess, to get us on the right track and keep us on that. And by the time we get to revitalize, it kind of pumps up that energy. Tell us a little bit of your thought, about, I know a lot of parents, I'm a parent myself, a lot of parents talking about, concerns about, well, if they haven't been in school the same way, or some children for the first time, concerns about learning loss. How do you address that? How do you know when it's time to perhaps then talk to the teacher, guidance counselor, or what have you, whatever kids are experiencing this time around?
Sure. When to say when, right? When to make that call or when not to. I think it really starts. I think an important step towards this is the parent just leading the way as a positive role model. The parent really, leading the way for excitement and engagement and empowerment. Kids look to their parents, whether we know it or not. As a parent myself, but kids do look to the parent as the guiding force. And I think for the first step in this is to have that caregiver show all the three E's that we were talking about. In terms of when to say when or when to make that call to the teacher, it's going to take a period of adjustment, and some kids adjust faster than others. And I think as long as there's that connection between the home and the school, there's conversations with the child when they come home. There's conversations maybe in an email, a quick email that's sent to the teacher just saying, really looking forward to this year. I'm a full partner with my child. Please
Right.
let me know, that thing, so that just keeping that door and
That
paving that way
communication open, it sounds like,
is
Dr.
key.
Vaca. Great
Absolutely.
advice. Thank you so much
Absolutely.
for joining
Absolutely.
us. Wishing you and all of the students, of course, at St. Joe's and all our local universities a great semester. Thank you.
Jennifer, thank you. Go Hawks.
All right, indeed. When we come back, it's Financial Wellness, an initiative for college students of color, where it's kicking off in our area. That's next. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone, for In Focus. I'm Jennifer Lewis Hall. Well, between college loans and expenses, financial wellness is so important for students. And now an organization is addressing that right in our area. The Historically Black Colleges and Universities Community Development Action Coalition is kicking off Our Money Matters. Temple Jackson is the program manager and joins us now. Hey, Temple.
Hi, Jennifer. How are you today?
I'm doing well, and I want to know more about this initiative. It was interesting hearing about it. I believe it's more than $5 million, right? So tell us what it is and what the focus is.
Absolutely. So, Wells Fargo awarded our organization $5.6 million in order to address the racial wealth gap. So, we're doing this by partnering up with HBCUs, which are historically Black colleges and universities, as well as minority serving institutions, in order to begin this process with the students, faculty, and staff.
Oh, that's great. And this, in a way, you said, is a more holistic approach to helping students. They're facing so much. Many students and their families impacted by the pandemic, some trying to make ends meet as well, with food insecurity and a lot more. What are they telling you they are dealing with, and how can this help?
Well, a lot of the students are dealing with, like you mentioned before, food insecurities. They're having issues with technology because a lot of them are doing work from home. And in addition to that, they're having issues with just merely surviving through the college experience. And so that's why Our Money Matters is so important to the HBCUs, is because those students are now being able to receive assistance and new opportunities in order for them to manage things like student loan debt, have access to scholarships. We also have a job and internship search. And in addition to that, they're able to get a resume review in order for them to be ready for jobs and have that career readiness.
All right, and there are several now HBCU campuses where you will be launching this, but it's also exciting to hear that one will be right here in the Philadelphia area. Tell us who that is.
Yes, that's the wonderful Lincoln University. We are so excited to launch our program there. We have the faculty and staff on board at Lincoln, and also we plan on coming to Lincoln with a college tour as well in order to help launch the program itself over to the student body.
Oh, that's exciting. Very exciting stuff. And something that this I think is very interesting. It's talking about, you say, financial inclusion and economic success. Why is that so important as a component here?
Well, mainly because if you look statistically, about 85% of Black students have more debt than white students, an average of about $25,000 in student loan debt. And you're just talking about students who are just getting a bachelor's degree. So if you've gotten a master's or a PhD, that student loan debt is much higher. So what we're doing here is we're trying to keep the students thinking about the debt that they're accumulating and making sure that when they graduate, that they are ready for jobs. And in addition to that, those jobs that they receive, they're not taking that money and having to put it back into student loans. They're actually able to take that money that they're earning and are able to survive and provide for themselves and their families.
All right. Well, that is a great initiative. What is the website where people can get more information, Temple?
Absolutely. So please go to ourmoneymatters.com and you can click on sign up to get started.
All right, sounds like a plan. Temple Jackson, thank you so much. I'm glad you could join us.
Thank you, Jennifer, and you have a wonderful day.
You as well. Straight ahead, everyone, stay with us. A game changer in the way people with ALS communicate. The effort to get new technology out to people for free in the Garden State. Stay with us for that. Welcome back to In Focus. Well, finally, today, modern technology is making it easier for ALS patients to maintain communication with those around them. And that technology could soon make its way to every person living with ALS in New Jersey. PHL 17's Jason Lee has the story.
This is Megan Judson. Megan is living with ALS. It's already robbed her of all function and speech. But thanks to some amazing technology, she's still able to communicate with those around her.
Communication is key for all of us. To be in control is key.
Eddie Ehrlich is from Bridging Voice, the company responsible for this innovation. And for Megan, it's been life-changing.
The technology that she's using is eye mousing or eye tracking, where she's using her eyes to mouse on a keyboard. If she did not have that communication, everybody around her would be guessing what's bothering you. And it would take longer, probably on the way to making her comfortable. It would probably make her less comfortable.
Hey, blankets.
Do you want them up?
Megan is able to tell her caregiver exactly what she wants.
Arms in, arms out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
These computers could soon be on the way to every ALS patient in the state of New Jersey, thanks to a nonprofit called Renew Jersey. Governor Phil Murphy and First Lady Tammy Murphy are major contributors and heavily involved with the organization. The goal is to get this technology to all of the approximately 400 ALS patients in the Garden State. The First Lady says while this is amazing for ALS patients, it also has a huge impact on everyone around them.
By the time you're dealing with colleagues and caregivers and family and friends, it actually, the network of people impacted is probably 10 times that at least.
And Megan's friend and caregiver certainly agrees with that.
And then the minute that the eye gaze got set up and texting and emailing, it's like she could be herself again. So it gives her a chance to be herself and to keep connected with everyone.
Megan can even talk to her dog Lily.
Really sick.
And that makes her smile. Jason Lee, PHL 17 Morning News.
That is amazing. Thanks so much to our Jason Lee for that story. Well, before we leave, remember the discussion continues even once the show is over. So everybody, let's connect. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram if you can. And feel free to send a topic idea you'd like to see us discuss right here on In Focus. Thanks to all our guests today, our crew, and to all of you for tuning in. I'm Jennifer Lewis Hall. I'll see you next week.